There's this misconception out there that a lot of people believe you should use a thicker oil when you're modified, when you've upgraded your turbo on your car. And I do not believe that. I wholeheartedly do not believe that. I think that is the wrong thing to do. I think you should stick to using the OEM recommendation.
You need 2050, 1040, some one of these really thick oils. Well, don't believe it.
I think some people recommend upgrading the viscosity oil, especially once you've modified your car or upgraded your turbo or increased the boost from your OEM turbo, because they believe that the turbo is producing more heat or the modifications are producing more heat, and you want to make sure that oil is not coking. The main purpose of your engine oil and the viscosity used is to lubricate your engine components, to prevent metal components from touching, to produce that fine layer of oil, that small film of oil, to reduce friction. Yes, oil does help with cooling. That reasoning is somewhat flawed. It's putting all of the focus of the engine oil on the turbo and not where it really belongs, on the engine. Let's just assume that something does go wrong because of the type of oil used, the viscosity used. I much rather replace a turbo than my engine. The first is associated with cold start. Upon starting the engine, that is the prime time where your oil is finding its way through all of the passages into the engine and the turbo to start lubricating it. And if the engine oil is too thick at that time, it takes longer for it to make its way there. And in that time, you have wear happening. You have mechanical components possibly making contact. If you have a really good quality oil, they have additives that will help leave a film on your mechanical components to help prevent that. But nonetheless, you are waiting. There is a period of time in which you do not have full oil lubrication. If it's too thick, it's not getting there or not getting to the right places quickly enough.
It can lead to poor circulation in the engine because it's too thick. The object of an oil, the number one thing, is to move between moving parts and keep those parts from touching one another. Well, when we have smaller spaces, we need thinner oil to fit through those smaller spaces.
As you increase oil thickness, you're also changing the oil pressure. Why is that a problem? That's a problem because most cars today have some form of variable valve timing. Most of those cars work off of oil pressure to control that variable valve timing. And if you change that, you're negatively impacting how that technology is running, which I don't think you want to do.
Now, the variable valve timing works off oil pressure, so you might wind up with a check engine light and a code for the variable valve timing, which could lead to some expensive repairs.
Some turbos, not all, some turbos are more sensitive to the amount of oil pressure going into the turbo cartridge. And by increasing that oil pressure, you're potentially leading to a damaged turbo. If you go from a normally aspirated to a boosted engine, absolutely, that oil is getting heated up by the turbo. When it comes to increasing the heat of the engine oil from a car that is already turbocharged or upgrading that turbo of a turbocharged car, I would argue that, yes, as boost increases, the turbo will spin faster, and with that increase in speed of the turbo, it will produce more heat. Turbochargers have a range of efficiency, and as it moves out of its efficiency zone, it will create more heat. If you are taxing an OEM turbo to its limits, yes, absolutely, it's getting much hotter. It is leaving the efficiency islands, it is getting less efficient, it is spinning faster, it is creating much more heat. However, if you upgrade your turbo, your smaller OEM to a bigger aftermarket turbo, that does not necessarily mean that turbo is going to produce more heat than your OEM turbo.
And when we increase oil viscosity, what we do is slow down the movement of the oil, and that means that the parts inside the engine are going to run hotter because there's less oil flow, and that means more wear.
Engine oil typically has a range of efficiency of between 180, 190 degrees Fahrenheit to 230, 240 degrees Fahrenheit, of which the viscosity is not going to change. It's happy, it's fine. There's also an intermittent range. It means anything a little bit above that for a short period of time. So think if you're traveling down the quarter-mile track, you're doing a burst of acceleration. If that temperature increases by 30, 40 degrees Fahrenheit, you're still fine, you're okay. What is concerning is when you are under extreme temperatures for long periods of time. And this is not your spirited driving on the highway. This isn't your quick boost run. This isn't even your quarter-mile track. This is on a circuit. This is on a track where you're under boost, you're under load for extended periods of time. So what is my recommendation? My number one recommendation is to get a oil temperature sensor. That way you can monitor the oil temperature and you can make an informed decision whether or not are you consistently getting temperatures higher than what the oil should see. If that's the case, then yes, you need to take some action. In addition to that, if you don't want to install an oil temperature sensor, get high quality oil of the right viscosity, the OEM recommended viscosity. Change your oil frequently. Have your oil tested to see if it is indeed breaking down, if it's losing its viscosity over time. And if you do find that your oil temperatures are increasing, a good option is to install an oil cooler. That will definitely help bring down the oil temperatures. Again, I do not recommend increasing the viscosity of oil beyond the OEM recommendations. They created the engine. They know better than any mechanic, any armchair mechanic on Facebook, on YouTube, etc. They know what they're doing. Stick with the OEM recommendations and you'll be fine.